Hi there, and thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of your Wheel and Anchor weekly newsletter. Happy to be reporting again from here on my home in Koh Phangan, Thailand. And as I was writing the newsletter, I was musing about winter travel of all things. And it may seem ironic that I'm thinking about winter when it's some 30 degrees outside here today in Thailand. And clearly I'm aware of the typical December weather that is affecting most of Canada these days. And yet when we think about winter, obviously for most of us, myself not included at the moment, we think about, shoveling snow and gray sidewalks and ice and, all of the sort of negative things that come along with winter. And it's why many of us travel to warmer climes in the wintertime. But at the same time, winter can be a great time for a getaway. And of course, the default what we automatically think of is going to someplace warm, like much of us head to the south of the U.S. or Mexico or the Caribbean in the wintertime. Some will go further afield. But I think that there is merit in considering actually traveling to a winter destination in winter because often how we see winter, how we experience winter can be quite different than the winter that we're used to at home. And let's face it, Canadian winters are notorious around the world. And so, whenever you run into people in other countries and you talk about winter in Canada, they automatically sort of assume that we live in igloos because it's 40 degrees below zero all the time. But that being said, when we think about travel in winter to other destinations, there is a certain allure to it because there is a reason for going to experience it. Many of you know I went to school. I studied in Austria many years back, and I spent many a winter in the Alps of Austria enjoying the skiing, the après ski, and all the rest of it that comes with it. And people really celebrated winter, much as we do for those that live in winter sport areas of Canada. But there are other things that one can do in winter. And this is also one of those things that we've been musing and contemplating because people have asked us about trips in the winter that aren't necessarily trips to warm places. For example, we've been contemplating for quite some time traveling up the fjords of Norway in wintertime, which have a magical allure to them, particularly because the northern lights way above the Arctic Circle in Norway, which is beyond the reach of where you would go in Canada, certainly in wintertime, affords one the opportunity to see some of the most incredible northern lights that you can see anywhere on the planet. Similarly, Iceland is a great destination for that. And it's a great time of the year to visit a place like Iceland, which in the high season can be extraordinarily expensive. Recently, in fact, just a couple of days ago, we released our new Antarctica program. And of course, Antarctica in our winter is summertime. So the weather is relatively mild. And I can recall from previous visits to Antarctica that the weather was actually milder on the Antarctic continent at the same time than it was in most places in Canada. And so I think that there is merit to consider winter destinations in winter or cool climate destinations in winter. I'd love to get your feedback on that. Is that something that would appeal to you? We've had some great feedback from previous newsletters that will help us and does help us shape future programs. Next week, I'm going to talk a little bit about warm destinations, which appeals to, I think, probably the majority of people getting away from our winter in favor of other places. And so I'll explore that idea a little bit more. And again, welcome feedback from you about the kind of places that you like to go to winter. Would you go warm? Would you go cold? Where would you go? This coming week, we have some more webinars coming up. We've got 2 more weeks before the holidays start. So have a look at the blog below. Come join me for one of our webinars on our upcoming destinations. And I will be thinking of you in winter. I am thinking of you while I'm here in warm and sunny Thailand. Take care. We'll see you next week.